Hi, Gail.
Hello.
I see you got my note on Diane Jacoby.
Yes.
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 Yeah, well, I'll wait and see whether that one holds up for a while. I think their modem is their sorry router is okay, but anyway, and I see you've been doing the same over your way too.
I did. Yeah. Yeah, there's some neighbors here that just were not having good speeds, and I was over their house for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was there, I just ran some speed tests and they were horrible. Like standing next to the router, like 50 megabits, it was really bad. And all it needed was a reset, and then it jumped up to the mid hundreds as it should.
Mm-hmm.
Like a power cycle reset?
No, hard reset.
Hard
Oh,
reset.
really?
Hard reset.
Wow.
Yep.
Ooh,
Yeah.
does a hard reset then mean you've got to put in the SSIDs again and stuff like that?
Yeah, you do. Yes, passwords.
I'll bet.
Works.
Oh yeah, but a lot of people, they just had default anyhow, don't they?
So many people are just using the default. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I wonder if the reset makes a firmware update. Would that make it?
If that option is checked, it'll check it automatically. But when you go through the whole process of setting up SSIDs, that's a question that it asks you early. Do you want to check for firmware updates? And there aren't any, so it doesn't really amount to much.
Okay.
If it's an obsolete model, there are probably not going to be a lot of updates coming
On the
from Linksys.
On the very newest Linksys, there is an update for the firmware, but I think on most of the ones that were given out or installed when we gave them out a long time ago, there are no updates for those. No firmware updates.
Hey, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, everybody.
All right. Well, we have quorum, so I'll read my little spiel. So welcome. It is the October 18th meeting of the MLP Board and Broadband Committee. I'm Gail Huntress, MLP Manager, facilitating the meeting. This meeting is fully remote. Participating remotely, we have MLP board members, Jim Hemingway, Graham Sefton, Steve Schmidt, and Craig Martin, committee member at large, is not here today, but he may join us later. First order of business is to approve the minutes from September 20th.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Hemingway?
Hemingway, aye.
Sefton?
Aye.
Schmidt?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Let's see, Graham. First of all, are you all recovered from COVID? Are you good?
Hey, I can ride up my hill again on my bicycle. That's my acid test.
That's your test?
Yeah. Well, I say my hill, but I suppose it's our hill at the moment.
It is our hill, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So anyhow, that's my test. I haven't been able to unicycle up that hill for some years now. So I always failed the unicycle test. But yeah, no, I'm all good. I had like a 3-day pretty light flu, I had no energy for about 5 days, I think.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad all is well.
Yeah, I think the virus has finally adjusted. Well, yeah, the virus currently is adjusted to not killing us as much as it once did. Yeah.
Good news for once.
And did Helen Ann stay
remarkably isolating in the house? She was away the day that I came down with it, so she had just the boring staying apart for a week and masking in the house was sufficient.
Good.
That she has yet, unless she's had it without symptoms, asymptomatically, she's has yet to have COVID ever. So
good.
That's great.
Are the rest of us all COVID not non-COVIDites?
Ever had it?
I haven't had it that I know of.
Yeah,
No.
neither have
Alright.
I. Neither have
No,
I.
no,
I've had the
alright.
latest shot though. I've had the latest updated booster, I guess.
I haven't gotten that yet, but I'm planning on getting it. So
You know, the best place to get it locally is at the Walgreens in Orange, or Orange Athol is the one that's by what's that supermarket, that big supermarket? I can't remember the name of it now. but-
Market Basket,
No, it's not Market Basket. It's Hannaford's.
Hannaford's. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It's right on 2A, in between downtown Orange and downtown Athol. No waiting, you don't have to have an appointment or anything. You just walk in and they'll take care of you immediately. And there's never anybody there. So it's great if you like it.
They'll be out of business soon. Well, I'm just going to use natural immunity now, or whatever you call I've earned my immunity for a little bit.
Yeah.
More kale, Graham. That's what you need. More
Okay.
kale from my
Kale
garden.
and natural immunity. Yeah.
Now's your chance, Graham, to go to crowded concerts and mosh pits. And
Yeah,
all
that's right. Yeah. I've got this window, don't I? Of
use it.
opportunity.
Use it to its best advantage.
Yeah. Off to the
Yeah.
off to the ecstasy concerts and
That's right.
what is it? Contact dancing.
Um, all right. Let's move into hut report.
Yep. The hut looked good yesterday. Well, I was there today again, because I dropped the batteries. That's right. Maybe it was yesterday. I put the batteries in that you had bought. Yeah, I had meant to mount them on the wall, but it's so hard to put screws into the concrete wall that I just hung them on the. I opportunistically hung them on the lovely big copper ground bus, because it's got all these holes for hanging things. Now, one might say, well, you can't take a battery if it's a lightning storm outside. But when you think about it, you can't touch anything metal in the whole place because everything's connected to the ground bus. So anyhow, there they are. They're easy to see. And
These are batteries for what?
batteries for the HVAC controller. They take
Okay.
double A's and triple A's
Remotes.
and the Simply Safe keypad.
Yep.
Which had a corroded battery in it. And
That's right. Yeah.
I cleaned out the corrosion, and it seemed it hadn't needed another battery since. So I managed to clean the corrosion out. And it's an argument for getting the highest quality batteries, because otherwise, trashy batteries, non-long life batteries can wreck things. So nothing else to report in the hut. I discovered
the HVAC is fixed though. That's a big news.
Yes.
It's what?
The HVAC got fixed.
Yes, the HVAC. That is huge news. Absolutely, yeah. And
it only took 9 months. It only took 9 months.
Took 9 months. Yeah, wow. And I did clean out the filter on the one that's not running at the moment. So the air filter on the indoor unit, which as a seasonal sort of a dust it off so it doesn't get stuffed with dust. So and I did try and clip onto, so from the power panel there are these 1, 2, 3, 4 circuits that go up to the top above the equipment rack, and there are twist locks that the rectifier and various other things plug into. And I tried to pick the right wires to clip the power meter on to see exactly how much the rectifier is taking. But I realized I need to see the circuit diagram of what exactly is the rectifier, because there's some things going to the rectifier and there's some things going to other things. So I will ask for I'll get that off of Bobby Liswell sometime, or from Lee, whoever. Someone must have the diagram because they connected up all the rectifiers when they've replaced them. So
Would it
The
be in the
rectifier-
diagrams that are with the hot wiring information that's in the the binder that's now in the town hall?
I don't think that level of detail for the
Okay.
equipment in the yeah. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it does show the hut as built, which shows all the circuits where they run to the on the wall, but not what's plugged into them. So you
Oh,
know,
okay, I see
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
getting that.
yeah. So
Is this part
is the
of,
things.
is this part of this tracking the what's happening with
Well,
those batteries? Why,
yeah,
you
well,
know,
okay, so yeah, that leads to Jim's question of did the batteries last as long as they should? They can, they
mm,
must have come close. But Gal, what do we know what the replacement of the batteries cost yet?
We don't.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it'll
We
come
don't
up.
have the-
Is Sheld good at billing us for monthly or whatever? I mean, I remember the other Crocker and all those others. Do they send bills that are clear and understandable and
They do. It's taken a while.
Mhm,
But
yeah.
they now submit monthly bills for maintenance and I'm sorry, not maintenance. It's for the backhaul and for any installations that they do.
Yeah.
And any big one-off projects. So the battery project should qualify as one of these one-offs. The maintenance and smaller things, we moved to a quarterly billing for those.
Mind that?
like
They don't mind that
repair?
slow cash flow.
Yeah, it's more because there's just a big lag time and so and it's a lot of paperwork for both of us, for both Sheld and me to process through. So I keep tabs on all of the maintenance stuff, but they only bill for it on a quarterly basis.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so you can tell which truck roll was what task and stuff like that. This
Yeah,
would be the
yeah, they do a
repairs.
they do a nice job of matching truck rolls to ticket numbers.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
if
yeah.
you want, if there's any question about anything, I can go in and poke around in the ticket system and see exactly what happened.
Yeah. Ah, that's
So,
good.
so they're billing us quarterly for that work, and then we have 30 days or to pay.
Yes, and being a utility instead of a private company, they don't seem worried about cash flow.
Yeah.
So, I'm really good about getting, turning around the invoices, but if I miss a month, it's really not a problem.
Okay.
Are you concerned, Steve, about
Well,
something?
I'm just thinking that was one of our issues with Crocker was the lag in their billing us. And they said, well, it's because Triwire wasn't billing them. And of course, we knew Triwire wasn't, their back office wasn't good. And so I guess we kind of hoped that was something that would be better with Sheld.
Yeah, this was actually me driving this.
Okay.
Ah,
Not them, because it is more efficient for me to go over an entire quarter's worth of maintenance, kind of review it, look at the tickets, and then talk over that at the monthly meeting I have of the billing with the Sheld crew instead of doing it every month. So this was actually driven by me, not them.
Okay.
I would suggest monthly is better because it is much harder. As someone who's been on both sides of this, it's so much harder to remember something if it's billed quarterly. You've got to remember 2 months or 3 months back on what exactly you did, and some months can just turn into a blur. I would think that that it would be better from the point of view of managing the product that they sell us, and understanding what's happened and being able to ask intelligent questions and get answers that aren't guesses that memory sometimes forces, or just bad memory. So I think a business is better run monthly on things like that. Steve, have
Yeah,
you got a thought on that?
Yeah, it's less for the regular call tickets and things. The memory is less of important because we do have everything cross-referenced with their ticket system. So you can go in and see the original case that came in. And then all of the, in the Spry system, all of the field tech notes on it. You're right. If memory has to be relied on, that it happened. I'm sorry, I'm getting stabbed in the eye by light here. Yeah, memory gets worse as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, okay, maybe June, July, and August, maybe not much is happening. So, it's only, 1 or 2 repairs and it wouldn't be a big deal. But I'm thinking like this year, 2023, January, if you did it quarterly, January through March, you'd have had the big January storm and the big March storm both in the same quarter, and kind of keep track of now, which big outage is this one on, and which, so I would agree with Graham on this. I mean, I'm not trying to make more work for you, Gail. And if you come up with something that's working well, I don't want to meddle, but I just, I am concerned that about it.
Yeah, I want to be clear that any big special projects or emergency responses like the January storm or the March storm are billed separately and immediately. And that's well, one of the big reasons is insurance. We can't wait 3 months to get that bill.
Yeah,
I have to submit it like in weeks, and so they do that for any of the big projects. Things like the pole replacement, or not the wire transfers that are happening on Leverett and that are about to happen on Wendell Road. That's also counted as a big project. So these big ones are coming through. This is just the field calls for, we'll call regular maintenance, repairs, fixes.
Now, most business things are done month to month, so I think there's good, there's I don't know, good practice in that, but yeah, you can think about it as you go forward.
Okay, if you feel really strongly about this, or that you want to review what's the billing, I'd totally be open to that. We have a system that is working, but if you're worried it's not going to work or think that mistakes are being made, absolutely we can change it.
Sorry, I had a thought, and okay. So you mentioned this meeting you have monthly with people from Sheld, and what's sort of the nature of that meeting?
Yep. So the first Wednesday of the month, and it's the first Wednesday because I meet with all of you on the second or third Wednesday, that we go over, it's Bobby, it's Lee, and Kelly. And so we just have the agenda that Kelly reviews all of the customer issues that have come up that might be unusual or troublesome. We just do a review of that. Lee does a review of all of the service tickets that went out, any problems, things like the battery replacement, just what's been done, what's planned to be done. And then any of the higher level stuff, Bobby Liswell talks about what needs to get done there. So, or again, has been done, concerns, back office stuff. So, we talk about any billing, that's my opportunity to question him on anything of what, like, one example is recently 350 Shutesbury Road, that last house on the S-curves.
It's actually in Leverett.
Yep, it's actually in Leverett, and guess what? They now want internet there.
Yeah.
So I've been working with Bobby to get them an estimate. The estimate came in very high, like $13,000. And before I sent it to the homeowner, I reviewed it, and the footage didn't seem right to me. It was too much, and indeed they had not gotten the footage. Like I got out the engineering plans, like this is too much. So they redid the estimate, and so during the meeting we talked about that, and I brought up the engineering plan. I said this doesn't seem right. So it's all those little things that we talk about at the meeting, and then yeah, and then it's my opportunity to prep them for anything coming down
Mhm.
the pipe. Like, right now it's the pole transfers that are about to be, we need them to go out and do a field visit for Wendell Road. Things like the Wim's place right next to Graham.
You luck on attachment application there? Yes. Wow.
Yep.
Did they finally get them on? They finally got them on the online thing, did they?
I finally found someone at National Grid because Wim finally got power there. He let me know. I waited 2 weeks, and then I started asking around at National Grid. I'm like, this isn't appearing here. We need an. I can't put in the application till the polls come in.
No.
So
those polls are just National Grid polls too, so that might put them in a slightly different category to the joint owned polls, which is nearly all the other polls in town.
Yeah. So I have a draft of the application in, but we can't complete it. It's our first online submission, and our license number isn't right. So
the license number.
So
the license number must be on our license that's in the town hall box, right? In the file. Is that true?
Oh, I know what the license number is, and they agree that my license number is right, but it will not input into the form. It says this doesn't exist. So it's stagnant.
You've got to get credentials.
I hope this isn't because we haven't paid the ever paid the pole attachment fee.
Well, we never paid it. We never paid at UMass either. I think I might have mentioned.
Funny you mentioned that. Guess what I got?
Bill. Attachment.
$15,999.60 for 2023 from National Grid.
Okay. So credentials probably got us on the map. So yeah. Anyhow, only 1 year. Only 1 year. That's good.
Yeah. How does that compare with what we had budgeted for National Grid?
It's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
It's correct. There's 16,000 for National Grid, and then about 6,000 for Verizon.
Yeah, and we've been paying the Verizon all along, so I just was curious how what National Grid finally billed us, how it compared with what we had budgeted. So it's
so they didn't catch up with the past, did they? So
okay. Well,
that's good.
Well, then they ought to accept our number, our license number.
I know. Well, it sounds like it's a bug in the online application thing of like it's so weird. You type in the number, right, and it just keeps saying not found. And the guy who runs the system says, well, everything's right. I don't know why it's not appearing. So I sent him a screenshot and said, I don't know, mister, you try it. It's like, it's not there.
Doesn't like our number.
Yeah. So anyway, just, the ongoing shenanigans of utility companies, but I have been in touch with Wim and just let him know that all this is happening. We haven't forgotten about him. It's that we're I will keep working on getting this application in.
Yeah, he's had power for more than a month now, so he did mention it to me.
Yeah.
And I said we were working on it in the background.
Is this the new house, or I don't know if it's a new house, but where Patricia lived?
Yeah, Patsy Carson.
Yeah.
So she was living off the grid.
That's
and
right.
Wim got power, and
so he's the new owner.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Fixed it up nice.
Okay. Gail, just to sort of get back to the thing, the reason I asked about the monthly meeting was that, okay, we have this concern about the quarterly billing for the small maintenance jobs, but would you say on a monthly basis, you're aware of what the work is that will be billed? And that the
Yes.
quarterly billing is just because it's kind of small miscellaneous stuff and it's kind of not worth processing a bill for every month for the small jobs? Is that?
Yeah, it's mostly a review and paperwork process. For them, it's a lot of work to generate an invoice. And when you batch these tasks together, it's more efficient. So that's why we're doing it.
Okay, well, Graham and I both have expressed a little concern here, so let's just keep an eye on this and see if.
Yeah, keep thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if if you see any mistakes in it, or
Well, we don't see any mistakes because we don't see
right,
any of it.
you're not gonna you're right, you're not gonna see
Yeah.
those.
I'll never, but as
Yeah.
someone on the board, I feel
Mhm.
like it has to be run like a, like a tight sort of a businessy thing. And when obviously we do depend on you and trust you to do that. But yeah, so.
Yeah, I will keep an eye on it. If it seems like we're doing these reviews and people and we're just not getting the details because too much time has lapsed, I will reconsider going back to monthly billing on that. So far it's been working well. But if there's any question that it's not, we'll go back.
Talking about Shell or HGE, did they ever give you a report and an estimate for the equipment? Remember, we had the meeting at the hut, and they were gonna work out what equipment might need replacing in what sort of time frame from the point of view of capital expenditure over time. Did anyone ever give you some paper on that or some information?
I never got a follow-up on that, Graham. Thank you for the reminder. We actually need to start thinking about that now, because we're gonna, in December, we're gonna start talking about our next year's budget. So I will chase them down. I think that the holdup was likely because that was coming from Holyoke Gas and Electric.
Sure.
And I don't have a direct line to them. So I'll push on that.
Yeah. And they don't have to do an elaborate report, just ballpark stuff, I mean, we just want, because usually these things are decisions of, you can do it this 6 months or you can do it next 6 months. I mean, we're not talking addressing failures, we're talking preventative maintenance, and that's usually a risk evaluation kind of thing.
And the general takeaway I got at the meeting was that, boy, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be replaced, that all this passive equipment you just sit there. And so we're talking, it seemed like a lot less of a project, and therefore a lot less expense than we had projected and probably are saving for. But it would be good to know, say, okay, here's the equipment, bing, 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 these things, nothing needs to be done. Here's the equipment that does need to be replaced, recommend this time frame, and here's the cost. So
yeah, let me see if I can get something. But I had that impression too, Steve, that they're like, you're fine with with what's in for a while.
They weren't worried.
Yeah, they were not concerned.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, no, we're looking at our 10-year schedule, our 5-year capital expenditures. Yeah.
Another hot news, we did get our generator maintenance done.
good.
Do they not tell? Do they not tell us that they're coming? I got an email urgently that said that the hut, and probably you got one in your thing too. The hut generator is offline, and I'm thinking, oh well, it could be maintenance, but Pechoric would tell us. I didn't want to phone Pechoric because I didn't want to send them up there to. I mean, I didn't want to, unnecessarily have a activate a Pechoric truck roll. So well, Gail ended up going up to the hut and having a look and found Pechoric there.
Yeah.
Becky scheduled it. And didn't
Ah,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
and so
Gotta
she
coordinate with her.
scheduled ours and the town hall one at the same time.
Right. She called them, and so so I talked to her, and that's why Pechoric didn't let us know, because it was the town hall calling to have it done. So they already knew, but we didn't know.
Yeah.
And
So-
Becky didn't bother tell us.
Yeah.
She didn't think of it. Yeah.
So she
Will she tell
apologized.
you next time? Will she?
I
will
wouldn't
she?
count on it.
Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
anyhow, we know.
This, of course, was the plan all along, was that Becky would coordinate this with Pechoric for both generators, and that we would, and the town would be billed one bill and we would reimburse the town. But our concern was it wasn't happening, so I thought it switched back to we were going to instigate it just for ourselves. And
Yeah. I
remember you had to remind them. I think maybe the last cycle, Gail. I think you actually had to, rattle someone's cage.
I nudged them last time to come and do it, and I don't know if they also did the towns, but the way I look at it here is like, it's no harm, it's no foul. Like, the thing happened, it was a little bit of a worry for us, but it came back fine.
And it showed that our system works. That's kind of
So,
the alarm. So,
Yeah.
and it's no, you're right. It wasn't.
it all worked out. I did send an email to Pechoric afterwards saying, just a reminder, bill us separately. So.
And speaking of billing, the power meter, which has been going about 6 months on the total power, I have worked out extrapolating for the month, because it doesn't change much in the winter and the summer. It's about 12 kilowatt hours, 12,000 kilowatt hours, 12 megawatt hours per year. So it's a substantial. It's like a few houses worth. My house is about 6,000 kilowatt hours. So the hut is about double my house. So it's not horrendous.
Suck, huh?
Yeah.
This is the complete hut.
The complete hut, which includes
HVAC and all the electronics.
And the freaking I shouldn't say freaking and the heat and the sump heater that runs all through the summer. So I have yet to talk to Kohler about that, but Kohler will want to because
that's right.
Every company, one third of the energy going into the hut goes straight over to even in the middle of summer, and there's a couple of hours in the hottest part of the day in summer when that block heater is not running. So I've got it on my list to talk to Kohler, because all these companies are trying to not just greenwash anymore, but California, for instance, is requiring companies to show where they're using energy and where they're wasting energy and where they could improve it, and it'll be in their interests for marketing to do better on something like this. And
to say we wasted all this energy for years, and finally we're not going to waste.
Yeah, you could say it didn't matter once, but it matters now. So So anyway.
That's we talked all about that, and I'd forgotten. Yeah, that was the thing. It keeps it at 80 degrees all the time. Is that? Yeah.
So, anyways.
Graham, we're ordering. You said 12 kilowatt hour. Give me that.
12 megawatt. It's 12 megawatt. It's just a little under 12 megawatt hours of power per year. But I don't know what
I
I don't know what the rate is we pay seasonally for the town hall. It'd be a commercial sort of a
12
thing,
megawatts of power a year.
Yeah, 12 megawatt hours per year. Just a
Megawatt.
little under. Yeah. Some small change from that.
12 megawatt hours.
And no one would have much idea about that, but you can say it's twice as much as an average house uses. And it doesn't have to be in the minutes. but it's about double a house.
Not that this
No,
matters,
I think-
but sorry, Jim had catch up here.
So what I realized was that unlike a hospital or a building with people in it, we have a hut with equipment that's well backed up, and therefore Kohler could have a program for buildings like that, which are really standby and they're not really emergency generators. They're standby generators because they don't have to turn on in 10 seconds. They could have it so that it did run on no load for like 2 minutes to warm up just with no load on it, and then boom, the circuit breakers close. And that would be good because sometimes in that 10 seconds of the power failing, the power comes back. And as HGE guys conceded, and Lee certainly agreed, because if he'd seen bouncing in our hut, it's actually better not to have the immediately 5.5 seconds into a power failure. It is not a, oh my God, we've got to get the lights on. There's no one in the hut and everything's going to run for a couple of hours.
So rather than have the ATS whapping back and forth.
Yes, don't have it bounce. Yeah, in some
Yeah.
occasions it'll be bouncing back and forth, and it's bad for everything.
Mhm.
So Kohler will be able to come up with this because it'll make them look good on the green. Like I say, not greenwashing, but actual. There's a lot of places where our block heater is 500 watts. But if you went to the next size up generator, it's 1,500 watts of block heating. And so there is a lot of energy that's being wasted out there unnecessarily. So yeah, they could do better.
I'm just curious, if you were to get a generator for household use,
No.
would this have one of those in it?
Not unless you told them to set it up as an emergency generator.
Because that's right, because that was what
You
Pechoric installed.
wanted to come, you wanted to come up in
Yeah.
10 seconds, and that's that's
Okay.
code. But we don't have an emergency generator need in that location, and
Yep.
it's not
Okay.
it's not ideal, is what I would argue. So anyhow, that's a letter to Kohler, and it gives me something to do on the long winter
Good.
nights, So,
Speaking of the generator, the report from Pechoric said that they had 62 starts this year since
Mhm.
last fall. 52 of those are the weekly tests. So
Okay.
that's actually really good, right? So only about
Yes.
10 uses of power. It did get some good hours of runtime from
Yes.
we're in March, some really
yeah, which is good for a generator.
yeah, and it
To
did
run
its,
under load.
did its job. So he said everything looks great with the unit. Everything's fine.
Good.
Let's see, maintenance and service report. So we had 43 tickets in September, slightly up from 35 in August. And 21 of those 43 are customer service, billing, disconnect things. So in terms of actual problems, it's, very good.
No.
Very
Could you
good.
give me those numbers again, Gail?
Sure. 43 service calls. And let's call it something else. Let's call it
Tickets.
trouble calls or tickets. Yeah, I guess. I don't
Yeah,
I
calls.
don't mean that, 43 people had to have a truck roll. And
Okay.
and 21 of those are service, billing, disconnects. Wrong
You can
numbers.
call them you can call them tickets because
Yeah.
every event is a ticket. Every call
That's a good
is a
idea.
ticket. Yeah.
So 43 trouble calls this last month, 21 of which were what?
Just say billing and service. So
administrative things, right?
yeah, that's a good
And,
name for it.
Yeah. I noticed there were, oh yeah. So,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I noticed there were a few router issues, and in fact, I know that some people have have off their own bat gone out and got updated, upgraded their routers, and that's good. It's customer equipment, but I also know that we typically have replaced routers at no cost, right? When people have problems, and even Shelter's sometimes done that. Is that not true? We've never charged anyone for a new Linksys, have we?
It is true. If you don't mind, Graham, I'm going to hold that because I have a
Okay.
whole other discussion at the end related
Oh,
exactly.
okay,
to
good.
that.
Okay,
So let's hold that and we'll get through everything else if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So finances, I mentioned we got our first bill from National Grid, so that can be expected going forward. I did reach out to Jim Draw and ask, is this something that National Grid is just cracking down on? Did other towns? He said, nope, we haven't gotten any. They are registered with an engine, so I don't think that was the trigger. I think it was just a coincidence that these two things happen in the same year, but I don't know.
Is Jim Draw mostly got Eversource? Is that further to our west, Eversource?
Mostly Eversource.
Yeah. So I think
Mostly
he
Eversource
might not have.
Oh, that's a
he
good
might
point,
not have
right?
much.
Right.
Barely
It's a
any.
different company.
Yeah.
Let's see, we have a little bit over $56,000 currently in our account. So that's good. We're well in the black. The first week of the month, I attended the digital equity listing system session up at FERCog. So that was led by the folks at MBI. And they had a person there representing the federal part of it too. So some nice conversations were had. I did finally get the letter of support from Becky so that now I can apply for a digital equity planning system, which will be paid for by MBI. The outcome of that is I hope, I'm inviting them in to say, hi, can you evaluate what we need? And then I'm going to tell them exactly what we need, which is for them to run a survey of our network and our town to get a better handle on what the needs are of our residents. So education, digital security, device upgrades. There's a lot of money. There's $42 billion in federal money. The government actually just released the BEAD allocations. So the each state's amount of it, and it's Massachusetts is hovering around 130 million of that 42 billion. It's a lot of money. So
that doesn't sound 100 million out of 42 billion doesn't sound like much.
Well, it's a lot of money for Massachusetts when you consider how much was originally spent on rural deployment, which is just sad at this point.
Yeah.
It might be proportioned on how good your state is doing. There'd be some states that are doing miserably, like
Alabama got over $1 billion.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's proportional. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It depends on what the needs are. So anyway, those amounts are released. So we'll see if we can get our hands on some of that. Through the digital. So I'll go after the whatever we can get.
Get upgraded managed routers for everybody.
That's on the list. I would like that a lot.
That would be lovely. It's just so nice to be able to say, why isn't my TV working? to the integrity guy?
This is
Yep.
140 million, you said the state of Massachusetts got?
Don't quote me because that's working off my fuzzy memory, but it's
Mhm.
42 billion in federal dollars.
Na-
And
nationwide.
just say Massachusetts is gonna get at least 100 million of that.
Okay.
Oh, Gal, that's good that you're putting the oar in the
Yep.
water for Shutesbury.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we shouldn't let that go to waste. We're not as eligible now as other places, but for
Sure,
the
yeah.
others, like second tier digital equity stuff, we absolutely are, especially as a rural town.
Yeah.
Let's see. I want to talk to you guys about Steve.
Yeah, we're talking about the hut equipment and then about money. And so I had one more thing that I wanted to kind of roll back to on that, if we could.
Mhm.
You mentioned finally the HVAC system was replaced, and I was curious where we stand on insurance on that, if anywhere.
Yeah. I submitted the bills for Becky. I've checked in 3 times. I've heard nothing back. So,
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
so yeah.
As I remember, when Jamrog finally says, okay, we're just going to replace this unit, we were getting the parts at the part at no charge, and we we're just paying the labor on that. Do we have the bill from them for the labor? Or?
Not yet.
So there'll be an additional bill coming in.
Right. So my plan is when I get that final bill, then we will have finally, after 9 months, the entire group of what it costs to replace that unit in whole. And then I will start following up with Becky again.
Okay, fine, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, now the culvert is almost completed. She probably have a little more bandwidth.
Is it almost completed?
Well, it's in the
Well-
final. It's past all the crises as far as anyone can tell. Yeah.
They're now filling in the soil around the culvert. You know, the pieces were installed last Thursday and Friday. They had
Yeah.
that $10,000 a day crane in there to drop them into place. And so that's over with. And so it's sort of all downhill from here, more or less. Although I learned today, it was that, you know, when I walked down there, that every time they dump fill in to sort of, around the concrete forms, there's an engineer there that has to come over and test to see whether it's been compacted correctly. You can imagine. And the great thing about it is that he that's a requirement of some sort. I don't know where the requirement comes from, but so once an hour he's called to go over there and test to see whether the fill has been compacted correctly, and the other 55 minutes he spends fishing off of the dam.
Oh wow! What a
That
job!
sounds like a great gig if you can get it.
A wonderful
Yeah.
gig, yeah. He's going to be there for
that's-
quite a while, from what I understand, because they've got a lot of fill to compact.
Wow.
It's just
Wow.
part of the craziness of this whole thing.
They pay him in fish.
Please tell me the way that he tests it is he just jumps up and down on it.
I think he has some sort of a special tool, but I didn't
Okay.
inquire as to the details, but it was pretty funny story.
Jumping up and downward.
Yeah, but that's the latest. That's the latest news from today.
Okay.
I walk down there every day to see what they're doing.
And here I thought backfilling would be very, very straightforward.
Yeah, I thought
but-
just fill
How
it
naive!
in.
How naive of
No.
us all.
Yeah, it's just we just don't understand these things, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Funny. All right. Let's see. I wanted to talk to you guys about maybe considering, not immediately, but maybe by January or next fiscal year, increasing the subsidy that we give for new installations from 300 to 500. The reason being is because of the increase in labor and materials cost and everything, that drops are just more expensive than they used to be. So I just got a quote for like the tiniest little aerial drop for a house around the lake. So less than 150 feet, all aerial, no underground, just very simple. And the cost is $822 plus a $49 activation fee. So you apply our $300 subsidy. That means that the homeowner still has to shell out close to $600. And again, this is the smallest, like the most basic drop there is. So a homeowner can't get internet for less than that. And I think that it's a lot. So I was wondering if it would make sense to increase that amount to $500, $600, even $700, retaining our policy that a homeowner has to pay at least $200 no matter what, because that makes it fair with everybody else in town who paid. But anyway, wondering what your initial thoughts on that are and how we should go about changing this, because we don't want to run into a situation where, of course, someone's like, well, last month I had to pay this, and if I had just waited a month, it would be this.
Yeah, we could probably change anything with 3 months notice. I mean, to
Mhm.
be fair to people who are in the pipeline, right?
Yeah.
Around how many new installations have we had this year? Do you have a that?
Yeah, we get about four or five a year. Pretty much every time a house exchanges hands that does not have internet in it, it gets it.
The new owner wants it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, they're buying a house, so there are always expenses. How much? How long would it take if our subsidy went up to $500? How many years does that pay back for the I mean, let's think about it about it going forward.
Yeah, so another way to think about this is that our MLP fee is
it'd be that.
$32, $33 a month, something like that. So if we
that's exactly where you think about it.
Yeah, and so
about $400 a year. Okay, yeah. So it's not.
so
It's
38.
It's not wildly out of line. It's not wildly out of line to make a $500 subsidy.
Well, let's see. So these are houses that don't have drops. Because I was trying to think, okay, like what does National Grid do? What does Verizon do? But they're probably not.
They charge you every penny of it next door.
No, actually they don't. Well, at least they do charge you everything if they have to like run up the road. But if the fiber or Fios or even the cable exists to your curb, to the street, most of these companies have like a $50 install fee, or they call free install and a $50 activation, where it's free because once they get you as a customer, right, they know that then they're in and you're going to keep paying that. So
which is our situation also. We want to get them as
well.
customers. Yeah. And so but there probably aren't many existing houses that don't have a National Grid and or Verizon drop. And where there are houses in town that don't have one of our fiber drops.
Yeah, no, well, that doesn't actually matter, Steve. It's just it is because we already pass every home in town, and our policy is if there are new homes built that don't have a to the curb network, a distribution network, we build it and we don't charge them anything.
Right. Yeah.
Like what's on the house that Patricia whatever on Wendy Road, we're paying a lot to bring it there, but they're a taxpayer, and So they're still paying for the drop, right? Like everybody else, curb to home. But for us to get the network to their house, they're not paying the person Leverett. They are paying, and that's why it's 12 grand, because our policy doesn't cover extensions for non-taxpayers.
Right.
Yeah. Good point.
So this is just, so there's billings you're talking about of $800 or so for a simple drop. This is just a drop.
This is just a drop. This is some, and I can say that it's a house on King Road here at the lake. It's like probably a 75-foot, maybe a 50-foot drop. So this is the lowest, cheapest kind of drop in existence, and it's going to cost the homeowner almost $600.
And does that include a new router? Is that part of the estimate?
They get all the equipment as included in that cost. Yes. But in terms of industry standards, just about every company gives you the router.
Oh yeah. No, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't another $150 on top.
No, that 570 includes everything, including the $50 activation fee by Shell.
The whole thing. Yeah.
I mean, my thought is, if it's a new house construction, I'm not really worried about cost there, because that's, this is just all part of the cost of building a house, which is exorbitant. And, you're probably putting in conduit. And so, so much to run the cable through. But I can see somebody buying an existing house, moves here, they're not going to expect, and they may have heard Shutesbury has this great broadband. Well, for some reason, the previous owner never connected, and now we got to pay, $600 to connect to it. I can see the concern there. So, do you want to?
Our subsidy is currently 300. Did you say
300?
Yeah. The current policy is that we do free estimates for a home, so that you don't have to pay to figure out how much it's going to cost. We kind of have to do that, right? Every time they do an estimate, it is $150 that we have to pay to Shell to someone sends up, and then on top of that is this $300 subsidy. So every time a new install goes in, it's costing us at least $450. Well, I guess I shouldn't say at least, only $450, because the homeowner pays everything else. The other part of this policy is that in the event that your installation with the subsidy is less than $200, then we end up paying less. We make everybody pay at least $200 to be in line, because all of us paid $200, and everybody in Shutesbury paid at least that.
But it doesn't sound like that's going to happen now.
No,
we're not going to get an installation under $200.
No one's going to pull that off. Yeah.
No one's going to pull that off anymore.
Yeah. Well, I could certainly see going from 3 to 5. That, kind of just keeping up with inflation.
And the MLP fee does get it back over 2 years. So it's a reasonable shift, isn't it?
I think so. I'm hoping that with the digital equity, this could be another one of our final pushes, is to get to the rest of the homes and say, hey, this is your last chance to do an installation for the 200 or 250 or whatever we decide it is.
Yeah, that'd be good.
But that's at least a year out, probably more. We know that the funding takes forever. So in the meantime, do you guys want to think about it for another month? Do you want to vote on it? I don't, and I guess the other question is, do you want it to be $500 or $600 for the new, any thoughts?
I like 500.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Because it's really
be gradual here,
and our cost is $650 because of the estimate as well. So so $500, and you could say starting next year. Yeah, I'd be ready to vote on that. I don't know, Steve, Jim, So Jim, you didn't express an opinion. What do you think about $500?
No, I've been listening. I think it's fine. I don't have
Yeah.
any, just trying to keep up with the numbers here.
Okay.
On my faithful
Okay.
laptop. I'm a little, anyway.
You're not grinding your teeth there quietly.
No, I'm not
Okay.
grinding my teeth. No, I think it's, although I would agree with Steve when Steve said that, you know, if it's a new house, new structure, that I'd be less considerate perhaps because so much money is being spent on everything, power drops and all this other stuff that it's less of a concern. But to someone, and I almost know the home that you're referring to on King Street, here just off of Locks Pond Road, you know, that's a different story. That's someone who probably just, I would feel more comfortable with that support for someone like that, as opposed to new construction.
Yeah, I don't think we can get in the business of distinguishing though for
Yeah, I
subsidies.
know,
So
I'm
like
afraid,
you get
yeah.
this, but you don't because you just bought that house and then knocked it down and then put up a new one or you knocked that, you know, like we just can't
Yeah.
get into that like adjudicating who
Yeah,
gets
I
it.
know,
So-
I know. I just,
So
Yeah.
you must have plenty of money if you could afford to do that.
Right, right.
Right, yeah. All right, I'll put a motion that starting the new year we up that subsidy to $500 for a new drop, for any new drop.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of changing the policy to a $500 subsidy instead of a $300 subsidy, starting on January 1st, 2024.
Yeah, that's my only question now is doing it on January 1st it's midway in our fiscal year. I don't.
But did we have an exact count of new
No,
drops?
it doesn't matter from a budgetary standpoint because this all just comes out of our normal maintenance. So
Yeah.
it's not going to have any effect on that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to cost more, but
Yeah.
keep in mind 4 new installations this year.
Okay.
It's like
Four,
not a
new-
lot,
yeah,
yeah,
four
we're not
new-
talking-
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so ready
I'm
to
sorry,
vote?
you were calling the roll, Gail.
Yes, all in favor of changing this policy to $500 subsidy, Schmidt,
Aye.
Sefton,
Aye.
Hemingway.
I,
Great, okay. I will relay that and make sure that anyone who calls about a new installation gets told, hey,
Yeah.
you can wait on, if you want to wait on this and get another 200, go for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good way to do it. They might not want to wait. They might just pay.
Yeah, I have a feeling they probably will.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so this whole thing, this questions of installs and things, actually got me thinking about new homes in Shutesbury, which don't happen very often at all. But there is one being in a new home over on Leonard Road that's going in. And I was running by there and noticed that they have all underground utilities. They have not contacted us about installing conduit. So I reached out to the zoning board group to ask them if I could please have the name of who it is, the owner, so I can contact them and get the information to them about conduit. But also it made me think, this can keep happening where a new home starts going in. I mean, we all live in town, but we might not see it or think of it. And for posterity, we need to be part of new home construction and permitting. Like we have to be in the process at some point, whether that means the manager, whoever's in my role, reaching out to the homeowner and saying, welcome to Shutesbury. We have this network. You should be thinking about installing conduit, because what we don't have happen, the owner does everything, the installer, the utilities, and they're like, what do you mean it's going to be another 15 grand to run another conduit up to my big house with, you know, or my tiny house or whatever. So
Yes, but I mean, their contractor should, you know, if
Yeah,
you're
but
building,
maybe not, you know, and
Yeah.
it's a good suggestion. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
everything else is in there, the curb cut. I mean, they have to talk to the highway department to get their
Yep.
curb cut approval, you know, so
yeah, this is
it's
I think it's an easy lift to just
Yeah.
insert ourselves into the process somehow, and
Yeah.
it can save us so many headaches later. Just
Yeah.
making
Great idea.
sure that when our whoever our vendor is goes to install, like, it's to spec. What's there needs to be there. So I'm going to talk with the chair of the zoning board tomorrow, and I don't understand how it works in
No,
Shutesbury.
it's not them. It's the building inspector's office. It should need,
Right, but the building inspector's office is all run through FERCog, in my understanding.
yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is talk to, I
But-
forgot their name.
yeah, but it's
Carrie?
not zone, what?
Yeah,
Could it be planning, the planning board maybe?
Planning board, yeah, would be more than zoning board, because if you've got a building lot that meets all zoning requirements, you don't need to go to the zoning board to get a building permit. You. if-
I already-
in
it's
planning
already-
board-
yeah, I already talked to the planning board. And they said, no, we're not the right people to talk to. We don't do it. And so they sent me to the zoning board. So I'm talking to someone in the zoning board who can hopefully tell me about the building inspection process and where is the best place to insert ourselves in that,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
how
yeah.
best to work at FERCog, because they're a wild card. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
Shutesbury people. It's a regional solution.
Yes, but they are the building department of the town of Shutesbury. Shutesbury doesn't have its own building department. Like in Amherst, you go to the Amherst Town Hall. They've got their
Right.
own building inspector. The small towns in Franklin County don't, so they contract with the Franklin County Cooperative Inspection Program at the FERCog. And so if you want a building permit in Shutesbury, you go online to that cooperative program and file everything for your building permit. So they're the people that issue the permits. And of course, you don't have to have internet connection to get a permit. But I agree, letting, if they can get word out that if you want this, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, somehow or other, because everyone knows they should apply for electric connection, and everyone knows they should apply for communication of some sort. But yeah, so somehow or other. But you'll
am I going about the right way though? Is going about it?
I think you'll
trying
track
to
them down.
eventually get to
But-
FERCog for the buildings, like get into that process. Is that
Yeah.
the
Someone
But the
has a
zoning,
list.
you want to go to the zoning board if your lot is undersized, and you want a special permit to be able to build on this land that doesn't meet all the current requirements, then you need to, because it's the zoning board of appeals is the actual name of that board.
Yes, I understand that they're not going to be part of this process. I just am trying to get to them for them to explain to me how the process
But
works, because I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
but I
it'll be exactly like a curb cut, or at least curb cut is the model that I can think of, because it's going to someone in the town to ask about a very specific thing, and it should be in a checklist somewhere, and
that's because
and
the
it sounds like you'll
town-
track them down. You'll
the town
find
has
someone's
its
got
own
this.
highway department.
Mhm,
So
yeah,
that's why the town would be involved in the curb cut.
bingo. Yeah.
But the county cooperative inspection program, I mean, they have a staffed office, there's like secretary and receptionist and answer the phone there. So unlike calling a board in Shutesbury that you're have to get a hold of somebody at home, and you can just call that office during regular business hours and get somebody there and explain to them what you're doing. So that would be my suggestion for.
Yeah. And Gail, if it ends up at the county level, then they'll be interested in putting it on their list anyhow, because all the towns like us, the hill towns, so they have their municipal broadband quite often. So it's something that it might be more generalizable to them than just us. Are we in Franklin County? It's Franklin County?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe less towns with municipal. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for that advice. I'll keep working it. Maybe my question. I already have the meeting scheduled with Harry tomorrow, so I think I'll just ask, am I going about this, like, what's your advice about how to approach FERCog on this? And go from there.
Yep. Cool.
Yep. All right, let me just make a note here about insurance stuff. About all right. Another news. We talked about the Wendell Road pole transfers. They just landed in the engine system. So we'll try to get that work done before the end of November. Dig safe. I've had to have Shell deploy somebody to do 2 dig safes so far, the actual markouts for homes with undergrounds. So for now, I'm still in the loop on that, but I'm trying to get us integrated into their SPRY system so that it can be more automatic. Because if I'm not here and one of these dig safes comes in, there needs to be a way for it to escalate appropriately. So last thing I have to talk about is routers. Does anyone have any other topics to go over tonight?
Okay.
Okay. So Graham, you brought up that point about replacement of routers, and our current policy is yes, when a router goes kaput, we replace it for free. And we didn't have our original policy during 2019 was that we were just giving routers to homeowners. We didn't officially own them, but over time we have kind of we have changed that policy, and we own and maintain the routers. If they break, we replace them. We still are giving them with new installations, and we're talking about doing upgrades sometime in the near future. So I think that we do need to reopen the conversation about how are we going to deal with this going forward? The 3 options are we provide, well, I guess 4 options. We provide nothing for that once these link sys's go, we tell homeowners, we're no longer replacing these, you're on your own, go buy a router. 2, we replace them with a non-managed quality router, which the homeowner pays none or all of. Or 3, same deal except for a managed router. Like
Picking a router is a little tricky though, because of our issue of picking one router. You know, we almost can't do that as we've discussed, haven't we?
It would be very hard to choose a new non-managed router going forward. Because there's so many out there.
And we get in trouble if we picked one. We'd have to pick 3.
We could certainly not. We cannot recommend it. We can't. We can't tell people to buy it, but we can buy it and give it to them.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. We can't recommend it, but we absolutely can choose one and buy one.
Yeah. And we can certainly recommend a Calyx one, because Calyx is in the hut and we got Calyx by a bid process. So Calyx is a trivially simple thing to recommend, that either we bought it or even we could tell them they have to buy it. So it's sort of a little simpler.
But I think from what Gail is saying, we can't go to our customers and saying you need we recommend you buy this Calyx router.
Well, we can because Steve, as having worked the legal angles on this stuff for 20 years at UMass, where you already have a little bit like the town bids a truck and gets a Ford truck, and after that they're locked into Ford. We have Calyx in the hut, and we get a benefit from having Calyx in the home at the far end. It's something that we can recommend because we got the Calyx in the hut by a bidding process, a little bit like the town might buy a Ford truck. They can never replace their Ford truck engine with a Toyota engine now, or they'd be ill-advised to. So anyhow, so that's kind of that's the logic, and it stands up to state bidding law and state purchasing law, I should say. So did it often at UMass. But if we buy it ourselves, as Gail says, then it's trivially, it's not even an issue then.
Right.
So the second alternative is that, to review them again, is that we go out and buy a whole bunch of routers, another, who knows, Linksys or Netgear or something like that, and then distribute them. Is that?
Yeah, we actually have to have, the state law is UMass would say that we would have to get bids from at least 3 router manufacturers, and actually do a bidding process to pick the next thing that we were going to buy. So if it wasn't Calyx, then that's my understanding of what I would have had to do at UMass.
Well, did we? Yeah, but we didn't go through that process to pick the Linksys, did we?
Well, how did we get to
No.
Linksys? No, not really. No.
We simply chose that. No,
We
after
did, yeah.
evaluating a bunch of routers, and we made that choice. So why would there
They could
be
have complained. Yeah, Netgear or some of the crowd could have complained that they didn't get a chance. So. But it was a sufficiently big thing that I can't remember. I guess we did look at a few things.
Yeah, we did. I remember.
Quickly, yeah, I remember that
the,
too. Yeah,
the router wars, I believe it was.
The router war. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, yeah.
I can't believe we need to keep talking about this, but we do. Yeah. So I realized tonight we're not going to make a decision about this, but I want to start planting the seeds because although we've only had to replace a couple of routers because they've gone bad, I see it coming. I think that we're going to see more of them failing, and they're getting increasingly difficult to get. So, we're going to, either way, that our hand is going to be forced, and that we're going to have to replace customers' routers with something at some point. And also, I think that they are getting more. I think the routers are fine, but the technology has exceeded the routers we chose, right? They don't they don't work great for what they don't work great for Wi-Fi calling.
They call it Wi-Fi 6. The new
Wi-Fi
thing. We shouldn't be replacing it with old Linksys because even if we can get them, because Wi-Fi 6 is better.
Yeah, and just the power of these, how the customer that I worked with last week because they had such terrible speeds, even when I did the hard reset and reset their network and the speeds were good, they still can't get service into some parts in their house because these routers have limitations, and there's new technology that's better and stronger and faster.
Gail, I have to disagree with you on that. I because of the limitations of router power and all of that, the Calyx router, I mean, I've tested it to see whether it does a little bit better in difficult situations, and it's very hard to tell the difference between the two between the Linksys and the Calyx, just simply because they can't run in excess of 100 milliwatts. And so that's just going to limit the range no matter how expensive the router is. So but Graham, you've worked on Wi-Fi calling issues, and I think you feel that the Calyx does do a better job. Do you not think that?
I ran around the house and it did better than my Linksys did.
Yeah.
So and
that I
it
would
didn't drop
expect.
calls as much.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed a little thing, but especially with big downloads and switching files around it, because I do a lot of that, and I can see the performance difference. But most people would never notice this stuff. So
yeah, well, they wouldn't be sure, but it is nice to improve the performance, even on the margins, and even to give people less bother. And also, every time there's so many things that go wrong in these cloud-based systems. It's nice to eliminate as much as you possibly can from the router, because yeah, you just want to, and things will go wrong, things won't work, and mostly it won't be the router, but you want to eliminate the router. And with the managed routers, artificial intelligence is going to leverage that process as well. You won't even be depending on a person thinking about it. It'll send you an email and tell you that you've got, there's something wrong. I mean, it's just the tools of managed routers is just gonna, be a good thing. So
you just wish it didn't cost as much as it does, which I guess.
Yeah, the cost is unfortunate. $23,000 per year in management fees for the routers.
So it's roughly what, $3 per household per month?
Yeah, $2.38.
$2.38.
remember, we're already paying. It's a little invisible to us, but we're already paying Calyx management and software license stuff for what's in the hut. So,
of course.
So
yeah.
it's probably at least $3. So these things are, they're services that they have to keep current, and they have to keep. But it's good. It's good to have, as I've said, if you're not paying for a product, then you are the product. The things you can get free, and the other piece of that is that it'll keep on getting better, and things will get more complicated on cloud stuff. That I don't know. It's benefit. So
Yeah.
but yeah, we don't have to work it out this month, but yeah, let's have it as a.
Yeah, just want to warn you, we're going to start talking about routers again. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It's a huge. It's the biggest part. It's the biggest piece of really what everybody's service is, and we're doing so much more with routers now than we were 4 years ago when we had a few little things. Yeah. People's heart-lung machines are depending on it now.
Yeah, Steve.
Well,
That scares me a bit, Graham, but if I recall, back a little bit ago, we bought a bunch of routers just to have them on hand. Did you scraped around and found some somewhere? Is that
we bought a couple that we were gifted some by Calyx and Shell to say, here, try these out. So Graham has one installed in his house, Jim has one installed in his house, Craig has one.
I installed mine also finally.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking of Linksys. Did we buy? I have recollection.
I don't think so.
No, a few months ago you got a bunch of old somehow or other.
Yeah, just to have them so that.
Oh yeah, we had to buy more because of some of the replacements and new installs.
So I just wondered roughly how many we've got now. What our inventory of the old Linksys ones.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I've got two.
We have at least a couple dozen, but I have to check to see it. Yeah.
Okay, so we can continue to use as the existing one, as the Linksys routers in the field break down. We still have a stock that we can issue to people, and new installs we can still issue them. So it seems like we're okay for a little bit then if we have
Yeah.
a few dozen.
A little bit. I just don't want to, for us to be in a position where, okay, we are now down to 2 Linksys routers totally. There's 3 new, and there's 2 of them have failed. There's 1 new installation. We have to decide what to do like this week, because otherwise these people
Yeah.
are not getting broadband.
Yeah.
So-
Okay.
so
But
that's-
it's going, its failures are going up,
Failures
yeah.
are going up, just like our batteries, right? The batteries have been failing left and right. They are so
yeah.
done.
By
Yeah.
batteries now, you mean this is the battery backups for the
Yeah.
Right,
home
right.
TVs.
The battery backups, and like
Yeah.
all tech, unfortunately, all of our technology was all bought, installed, and used at the same time. So we've already seen some of these Linksys starting to struggle, and I'm and so when they start failing, they're going to start failing likely all at once.
It'll be
Yeah, it'll
it'll
just
be
be
an up ramp.
yeah.
So,
Curve
yeah,
will
it'd be
get
nice to be
steep.
ahead of that, because we have to have agreements in place with both Calix and Shell, and know what the next deal would be if there was,
And ourselves.
and ourselves.
And ourselves, and let's not forget the supply chains. Right now, it's almost a 2-year
Yes.
wait.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
So yeah. So it's definitely let's work it out next month.
Well,
Yeah.
bear in mind also that although the EA 7300, which is what we're using, the Linksys router, although that's now sort of obsolete, they don't make it anymore, that the EA 7500, which is slightly better performance, it looks that, you couldn't tell them apart if you were to look at them. I mean, they're physically the same. And so we could move to a little bit more recent model. And I don't think the price is all that different, although I haven't really checked that, but it isn't as if we wouldn't have any options if we were to run out of 7300s.
yeah, we could certainly do that. I'd rather avoid, though, having different models just strewn about of the standardization. I think there's
But they're absolutely identical in their appearance, and in their the firmware is maybe a little bit more advanced, but the setup, I mean, if you go through it, you'd never be able to tell the difference until you actually looked at the model number itself.
Okay.
So it's a close enough match so that I don't think we would run into any trouble, at least for the time being.
okay. I'll make a note of that.
I also think I think that the Linksys is more reliable than you think it might be over the longer term. I mean, I still have routers that are 15 years old that work just fine. They're very outdated, of course, but you'd be surprised if they've lasted this long. I mean, technology that has lasted this long, they usually will go on chugging away. There's just some I can cite some notorious models that were just very just had a terrible track record for whatever mysterious reason, and design, or they just got too hot. Who knows what the problem was, but these little Linksys guys have served us really pretty well. And people seem to be doing quite fine with them. And I'm keep on, asking when people ask questions about them and one thing or another, and I give them advice on all sorts of things. And I, do this periodically because people know that I'm involved with this MLP stuff. So they seem to be working well for the present. Now, maybe I'll have to eat my words and they'll all start quitting at once, but I actually don't think that's going to happen.
Well, you replaced one that had died last
Yes,
week,
down
right?
at January Hills Road.
And I know someone who's having to reset, having to power cycle their Linksys, on a regular basis now. So yeah, a lot of them will last 15 years, but a lot of them won't, I think. So.
Well, today I was, the service call I did today to your friend and mine, Diane Jacobi, was very revealing, in the sense that it just took a hard reset to sort of bring it back into focus. And but once now I'm waiting to see how well that holds up over time. But it seemed to solve all the problems.
Oh, yeah.
And,
she didn't. Did you have to change SSIDs, or has she not changed? Did she have?
She had her own SSIDs and
yeah, so you had to
passwords.
set that in place,
So I
yeah.
mean, I just sat down and did the
Right,
whole
yeah.
thing for her and everything else, and they're very and it's seemingly everything is fine after that hard reset. Now, why the hard reset cured all of these very mysterious kinds of problems, I don't know. But a hard reset just cleans the jets. It just wipes out everything that the consumer may have done to that router over time, and it sort of starts you at square one once again. And so that's why and as long as the Linksys can continue to do it and operate in that way, I think we're still in pretty good shape.
Yeah, well, she'll be a test example, for instance. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, good to know.
Is back a few minutes back in the discussion, something was said about these Linksys routers failing, an individual one like failing as opposed to having failed. And so I'm just curious, I mean, do you get, I would think of electronic devices like this, typically they work and then they don't work. And there's no middle ground on that. Is my
Sadly enough, no, that's not true.
Okay.
And some people have had their tearing their hair out, and finally Sheld would replace their router, and their problems went away. So they can get gremlins, and Jim, you've come across gremlins in all sorts of things, right?
Sure.
And routers are sufficiently complicated that they can get odd little things, and power cycling and resets, factory resets, don't always clear those things out. And we've had a few, not many, that I'm aware of, but I'm not aware of everything. And I bet Sheld has probably solved. I don't know. Do we, Gail, is there any way we can tell how many, not the new installs, but how many routers we've gone through, replacement routers in the last 12 months, say?
I can try. Yeah.
That'd be an interesting thing, because if you could then look at the 12 months before that,
right,
that would give you a metric that'd be useful, I reckon. So, yeah. All right. But
the January Hills, the January Hills service call that I made was very revealing, because the router appeared to be working a little bit, but it just went through this odd cycle where it would just blink for five, and then it would stop, and then it would do it over again, and it was clearly, and firmware resetting and doing unplugging, nothing stopped that. It just got into this wacko state, but that's the first I've seen of that. Well, maybe not the first, but I don't see it very often, but at any rate.
Yeah.
yeah. All right, that's a good stat. I'll see if I can get that.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Going once, going twice. All right.
next meeting
motion
date
to close, or whatever they say. No motion to adjourn.
to adjourn, but let's just say next meeting date would be
The next meeting date is the 15th. It's an early one.
okay.
November.
Oh, and it's it's in November, so
Which is
month,
good,
so.
because the following weekend is Thanksgiving. So
Yeah, right. Yeah. Excellent.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second. Aye.
excellent.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you so
Thanks.
much. I'll talk to you
Bye.
next month. Bye.
Thank you all.